Hi everybody, it's Tom from Vehicle Visionary. I hope you're having a great day. This is the 2023 GMC Yukon Denali. This is the Yukon XL that we're going to look at. So if you're looking for a little bit of extra space, that's what this one offers. That's why it's the XL. The exterior color is Summit White and the interior color is teak with light shale. A very nice interior, very elegant, very spacious, and very comfortable. There's a lot of room, not only for driver and passengers, but also for cargo capacity, good towing numbers, and we'll get to all that information in just a little bit. And one good thing here, if you're saying to yourself, you know, this is the Denali trim level, and you're saying, I'd love to have a Yukon Denali, but is it available in two-wheel drive? Yes, it is, and that's exactly what we're looking at today. Two-wheel drive meaning rear-wheel drive. You also have the optional 6.2-liter V8 that is available for these Yukons. That's obviously going to be here. Plenty of horsepower, plenty of torque, plenty of pulling power, and power to just get down the road in all situations. So I borrowed this model from my friends at Morgan Buick GMC here in Shreveport, Louisiana. If you want to know more about it, check out the link down in the description of the video and you can learn more. Let's dig in and see exactly what you get. Starting here with the front end, a very aggressive, tough, but yet elegant look. You have some chrome here in a few different areas on the vehicle, so if you like that, that's going to be a good thing. It's here, it looks nice. A little bit of brushed aluminum as well. We're going to have the LED fog lights, even though I don't have them on right here. They are here. LED headlights and LED daytime running lights as well. And obviously you're going to have all of those great safety features that you would expect. Parking sensors, all of the different cameras, including the front camera here. Now this particular model does not have a front camera washer, but I think for the average person that's no big deal. And as I said earlier, two-wheel drive. Let's talk a little bit about tire and wheel size here. There is a lot of meat on the road, so much meat that I can barely get my hand all the way across. 275 on the width, a 50 series sidewall wrapped around 22-inch wheels. And you'll see the Denali logo right there, more of that brushed aluminum trim in a few different places on the vehicle, as well as power adjustable side view mirrors. The turn signal indicators are built in. They are also folding, so the way you're going to do that is to push this button. We'll try and do it all in one shot here. You can see me pushing the button right there, and these side view mirrors do fold in. Now, on this model, you will find the fixed side steps. Obviously, you can have the power side steps that come out when you open the doors, or they go back under when you close the doors. Not here in this particular case. Don't know that that's a big deal for most people. And here with the body color and chrome door handles, you'll also find the button right here that's on the front door and on the rear. That's passive entry. And for you parents out there, that's very helpful because when you have the remote on your person, I'll give you a look at what the remote looks like. Remote start is there. You can open and close the power tailgate, lock and unlock, and the panic button right there. But when you have the remote on your person, you can come back here and unlock all four doors or lock all four doors from the rear door, or you can also do that from the front door as well. It just depends on your situation. Going to have the nice privacy glass here and the rear roof spoiler to finish things off, and something that I like personally just because it really cleans things up here on the back window. The fact that you do not have the rear window wiper that would normally be in this area. That doesn't mean it's not here. It's just neatly tucked away inside of that rear roof spoiler. And we'll finish things off here with the LED taillights, a nice look. We're going to have our quad tip exhaust, the Denali logo, Yukon logo. Obviously, I told you where this Yukon comes from, and there is your GMC logo. And I hinted earlier to the fact that under the hood is the 6.2-liter V8. Let's talk a little bit more about what exactly those numbers are where that motor is concerned. The 6.2-liter V8 under the hood produces 420 horsepower, 460 pounds-feet of torque. It is a naturally aspirated engine, and it's mated to a 10-speed automatic transmission. You already know that this truck, or excuse me, this Yukon, is two-wheel drive as opposed to four-wheel drive, as is available. And how about the MPGs? 14 city, 19 highway, 16 combined. And 6.2 gallons of gas is what GMC says you should use per every 100 miles driven. This Yukon has or I should say Yukon XL has an extra large gas tank, 28 gallons. If you do need to do any towing with your Yukon XL, you can tow between 7,400 and 7,800 pounds. And let's show the hands-free feature here. I'm just gonna wave my foot right under there. There's actually a logo that is projected onto the ground, but with all of the light out here, with the sun shining, well, that makes it hard to see that. But it is there, hands-free tailgate, and quite a bit of space here. But one thing I did want to cover real fast, if you ever come back here and either the this tailgate doesn't open as high as you want it to, or maybe you want it to open a little bit lower, or the hands-free function doesn't work at all. Let me show you what the very first thing is that you need to do. We're gonna go in here, and this is gonna be the case with any GMC vehicle that has a power tailgate. It may not always be in this location, but you're going to look for this control right here. So what happens is you can open it all the way to max, you can go to 3/4, or it can be set to off. You can also push that button to open and or close that tailgate. But if you're having any trouble getting it to open, that's the very first thing to look at. And how about cargo capacity? 41.5 to a plentiful 144.7 cubic feet. There is a lot of space here. You can see you have the additional space under the floor. There's also a spare tire. It is located underneath the vehicle. Let's see if I can give you a view of that. And a lot of space back here. You have the power outlet right there if you wish to use that. And how about maximizing cargo space? We've got the switches right here. The switches in the back obviously will correspond to these rear seats. So I'm going to lower those for you first. Now there is a big difference between the rear seats and the middle seats that we can also lower as well. And what is that? Well, you'll have to manually go up there and put the rear seat or the middle row seats back up. But as far as these rear seats go, you have the power function. That's going to make things a lot easier where all of that is concerned. All right, let's take our first in-depth look into the interior, starting with the rear passenger area. You're going to have the upper and the lower door bins. A lot of space here. There are a lot of little nooks and crannies and places to store things. The armrest is nice and comfortable. I like to just put my arm up there. Most people use the poke test like this as if they're testing for the doneness of a steak. I don't think that quite works, but you can see that there's plenty of space with the door bins, nice materials throughout. And I did want to show you something from this particular angle. You can see that the middle row seats can be moved forward. That makes things a lot easier. And what about gaining access to that rear seating area? What exactly do we have where that's concerned? We're going to pull up on this lever and get that seat up and out of the way. And we'll hop on back into the rear seating area. Let me get the seat put back up here. Plenty of space. Now these seats are not all the way back. This is where they would come to. In fact, let me fix that. Now you can see with the seat all the way back, I still have plenty of space between my legs. I'm 5'10". That has plenty of room for me. A little bit of space above my head, so somebody a little taller could even sit back here in this rear seating area. I do like the fact that everybody has their own personal air conditioning vent. But you can also see that if this is not enough space, well, guess what? Let's slide over here. And while I realize that this seat is in a very unlikely position unless a really small child was sitting there, you can't move the seat that far forward and still have leg space for them. But you can see the difference between the two. That has its advantages, and also cup holders and a little bit of space here for snacks and USB connectivity. And one thing that I did want to share here also, you have the panoramic sunroof. There is the view from the rear seating area. That definitely has its advantages. And if you'll notice what I did right there, all I did was push this, and then you push it a second time, and it gets the seat up and out of the way. That's on both sides. In fact, we'll do this where you can see me do both at the same time, and you just hit the button a second time, hold that down, and it gets the seats up and out of the way and makes gaining access to this rear seating area a lot easier. And what about middle seat passengers? Well, obviously there's a little bit more space here, a lot of leg room really throughout in all 3 rows. More cup holders. Nobody will go thirsty. There's plenty of places to put drinks, that's for sure. And then we're also going to have the climate controls here for the tri-zone climate. This is the 3rd zone of climate control, so that can be controlled here. You also have the heated seats and a couple of USB options there in addition to another power outlet. So a lot of options here as far as connectivity goes throughout all 3 rows. And now we'll hop to the front seat, starting with the passenger side. We'll look in through the passenger side door. Pretty much the same thing we saw with the rear doors. It's a little larger, but other than that, pretty much the same. Still gonna have those nice comfortable armrests, the nice wood grain material, a little bit of that brushed aluminum right there. Everything really fits and matches together nicely. You have the power seats for the driver and the passenger. There's the Denali logo, and these are not only heated, but thankfully for those of us here in Northwest Louisiana, when it's 100 degrees every single day here in the summer, ventilated seats also. That is a good thing. And we'll have the nice look, elegant look, I have to say, with the way everything here is designed, more of that wood grain material and a little bit of space. I don't know, what could you put there? Quite a few things, but they'd have to be very slim, that's for sure. And we'll hop inside and take a look into the gloveless glove box. I knew I was not going to find any gloves in there, but wonder what's missing a screw. Something must be, because there it is. But that's the way it is, no big deal. And like I said, you have your ventilated seats. There's the heated functionality. But you know what? We're not going to leave that on. And I like the fact you do have, by the way, clean look here, but also you've got your dual zone climate control here in the front. You can sync those together. That's always a good thing. But speaking of the clean look, here's what we have. So you can conceal everything away if you want to, or you can reveal it. Now, one big difference between the 2022 and 2023 GMC Sierras and these Yukons is going to be found right here. You're obviously going to have your connectivity with USB. There is a 12-volt power outlet, but it's the position of your wireless charging pad. With those other trucks, the Sierras for 22 and 23, you kind of deposit your phone in right here, and that is, well, different. Some people like it, some people don't. Tell me what you think about that. Does it really matter? Here are your cup holders, and again, if we want to, we just conceal everything away. Here is your center console, plenty of space, the multitasking lid right here. Not only the lid, but it's also an armrest for the driver and the passenger, and it's in a really good place because it's not too low. That's a good thing. And one thing that's also different between the Sierras for 22 and 23, and 24 for that matter, and these Yukons is the fact that right here, you can use that just to put your phone there or whatever you want to put there, but you can also buy an aftermarket charger that can plug into a 12-volt power outlet that I believe is back here in this area, and that can be wired in, so you can have a second wireless charging pad. There's a nice benefit, and plenty of space within, just as you would expect. And you do have the light right there, probably a little hard to see in this sun, but I'm glad we do have a bright sunny day for today's video. And for the most part, everything is going to look the same here on the driver's side door, but you will have a few more buttons and switches, including seat memory, 2 settings for the driver right here, only on the driver's side. For a vehicle that has the price tag of this model, that should also be on the passenger side, at least in my personal opinion. We also have the controls for all 4 windows, and obviously for those power side view mirrors. I showed you a little bit of that earlier, and as we work our way into the interior, your power parking brake, here are the controls to turn some of those features off as far as your safety driving aids go. And then right here, these 3 switches control your head-up display. Yes, that is here. And then here is your mode selector for driving modes, and on the right-hand side, that is going to control the lighting on the exterior of the vehicle. You do have a power adjustable, tilt and telescopically adjustable steering wheel. And let's take a look at the power sliding center console. This controls it right here. So what happens is that if I hold that button down, towards the rear of the vehicle, basically, that's what happens. It actually does help in a few different ways, not only adding more space, but it makes it a little bit easier to get to the drink holders right there for rear seat passengers. Just makes life a little bit more simplified, and this is what I was using. I'm going to slide that back forward by simply pushing that forward or towards the front of the vehicle. And then a very nice modern look with the instrument cluster. As you can see, we'll go through our driving modes. Right now we're in normal. Let's see what we have. Tow and haul mode. We're going to also have sport mode, in case you're feeling sporty with your Yukon XL. We also have snow and ice. You probably want four-wheel drive if you're going to be driving in an area where you deal with a lot of snow and ice. And those are your driving modes right there. Quite a bit going on here, however. You can change the entire display. I'm not going to go through and do that, but just to show that you can just change the layout. You can change literally everything. The lower gauges, the left side, the right side. It's all here. It's all available, and it's all very easy to deal with. For those who might say, man, I've never had a vehicle like this before, it seems a little daunting to have all of that technology. Don't let that bother you. It's really not that hard to learn. One thing I can say for sure about GMC is the fact that it's very easy to learn. And I'm just using the buttons right here, the arrows, to work my way back and forth through some of those features. Here are your steering wheel mounted controls, by the way, in case you were curious about that. You can also control the radio from the rear of the steering wheel on both sides. And one thing that I know there are varying opinions about, this is your shifter. So you're going to push to go into park, pull to go into reverse. You're going to push to go into neutral, and pull to go into drive. In case you were curious, what do you think about that? Do you like it? Do you not? Does it matter? Yeah, it's a lot of different things. Now, one thing I'm not going to demonstrate here, because sometimes I set things off in people's houses with Google Assistant, but I think you know how that works. But that is here, as you can see right there. I can push that, and you can actually see that come up. In case you were curious about that, I'm not going to say, hey, well, you know who right there, because again, I might set something off in your house. We don't want to do that. You do have maps built in here, but you can pair your phone. You have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. So if you want to use something other than built-in navigation here, you can do that. And the cameras, a multitude all around the vehicle. You have that overhead 360-degree view that helps a lot. The front and rear-facing cameras. And we'll take a look at all of the different angles, because there are a lot, a plethora, a ton, a multitude, whatever. It's just a lot of views. I think you get the idea, but you can see what's here. And boy, I tell you what, you'll never have any trouble getting around with this Yukon XL. Even though it's an XL, it's extra large, right? But there's a lot going on here. A lot of great features. If you need to go and deal with trailer lights, different things like that, there's where you're going to do that. You also have everything for trailering, where you can go right here if you need to do that. We're just going to run in real fast and look at that. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it, but in case you were curious, yes, there that is. And here under settings, I'm not going to, let's see if we can get away from that. Hold on a second here. Let's get away from that. I hit the wrong thing apparently. Let's go into settings right here. There we go. You can see everything that's here. And notice that it's easy to just place my fingers up here on this little area. Kind of a shelf almost. Makes it a lot easier to deal with. So you have everything that you need here, including updates if you need that. And if you're maybe driving around in a parking lot or something like that, I don't recommend doing this when you're out on the road, but if you don't want to have to buckle to drive, if that feature is on, here's where you come to turn that off. You can also turn the rear seat reminder off if you need to. You have teen driver mode here if you want to use that. That's very easy to deal with. We're not going to go through all of that today either, but just so you know what is here. Literally everything you could imagine. It's all here. Simple to use, and by the way, pairing your cell phone is wireless. One more thing I wanted to show you here is you do have the 14-speaker Bose audio system, so let's take a listen to that. See if we can get that to play for us. Hopefully that's enough. I don't want to go too far with that. Just give you a little bit of a quick sampling of what the audio sounds like. And I hope the head-up display is showing up on the screen. A little bit hard to see out here with the bright sun, but there is a lot of different information you can go through with that. It is here. I just don't know that it shows up as well on the GoPro as I would like for it to. And one thing I forgot to show you are the graphics that come across the instrument display and the center screen when you hop into the Yukon. Just in case you were wondering, it is a little bit of added value. Some have seen this, some have not, but I did want to make sure that I showed that to you. Okay, we're out on the road for the test drive. And one thing I don't think I have ever done with one of these Yukons has been, well, the best I can for a road noise test. Now keep in mind, this road we're on here is really bad. Very much washboarded out. It's going to make things seem a lot worse than they really are, or would be in most settings. But I thought I would give it to you anyway. And for those who might say, oh, you can't test road noise without a decibel meter. All a decibel meter does is give you a number. It doesn't tell you what people are going to say is acceptable or unacceptable. So that's why I don't use a decibel meter. The scientific approach is all fine and good, but again, it's not based on what humans actually think. So I'll be quiet for a few seconds and let you listen. Now, for those who might say, wow, that is really noisy, this road, like I said earlier, is very much washboarded out, a very rough road. It's very quiet in here compared to a lot of vehicles that I would normally drive. And we'll be on smooth pavement in just a short time, and so you'll be able to hear the difference. But overall, I really like the fact that this Yukon is soaking up the bumps very well. The ride quality is really smooth considering the condition of this road. And it's a very enjoyable vehicle to drive, as large as it is for those who may be coming out of a mid-size SUV. Something along the lines of say, a Honda Pilot or something like that. And you're stepping up to a full-size SUV for the first time. Don't let that be intimidating to you. You'll get used to it just like any other vehicle, but you also, if you go with the Denali trim level, you're going to have all of those different camera views to make it easy to get in and out of tight spaces. So a lot of benefit where that's concerned. But you know, one thing about that is that for decades upon decades upon decades, we spent time doing the same thing without the use of, of all those cameras. And we still made it. Well, for the most part. Sometimes people did, I guess, run into vehicles, but they probably still do that with cameras as well. So, one way or another, an enjoyable vehicle to drive, plenty of horsepower. In fact, there's nobody behind me, so we'll give you just a quick little taste of what it's like to step on the pedal. I'm going to slow down because, boy, I tell you what, with that 6.2 liter V8 under the hood, you can get up to a pretty decent rate of speed in a hurry. It's not hard to do. There is more than enough horsepower and torque here to take care of anything you need to do with this particular style of vehicle, no matter where you may be going. If you're going on a road trip into the mountains, or you're pulling a trailer for a long distance, a boat or a camper or whatever, some kind of a travel trailer, it's not going to be a problem. It has the power and the torque to do that. The 10-speed automatic transmission really helps the vehicle out in a multitude of ways. And it's comfortable. The ride quality is good. It's great for long road trips, especially for your passengers, because, well, they're going to be able to stretch out and get comfortable and take a nap if they want to. And then there are a lot of options that are not here. You could have the screens in the headrests back here, mounted to the headrests back there if you wanted to do that. So there's a lot of potential options for making road trips a lot of fun, or just driving around town one way or another. A lot going on here in favor of the Yukon. And like I said earlier, maybe you're that person who's had your vehicle since the mid-90s, something like that, and you're saying to yourself, am I going to be able to get adjusted to and learn all of that technology? Yeah, this is not difficult to do at all. In fact, it's some of the easiest in the industry to use. among competitors. So tell me what you think down in the comments section. Is the 2023 GMC Yukon XL Denali the ultimate full-size family SUV? Tell me what your answer is and tell me why you answered the way that you did. I have to say a special thanks to my friends at Morgan Buick GMC for loaning me this Yukon XL for the day. And a special thanks to each and every one of you for being kind enough to give me the opportunity to give you a vision for your next vehicle. If you enjoyed this video and haven't subscribed to the Vehicle Visionary YouTube channel, please consider doing so. And if you would like to learn about other vehicles you may wish to consider purchasing, check out the video that's on the screen right now, and I will see you there.